Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the FN Story. My name's Somebody's Gun, joined alongside Immature Gamer. He is a map creative, map maker, developer, as some may say, and a mastermind, a wizard in the creative space. So, how's it going, man?
That's good. Thank you for that introduction. I don't know about all that, but no, I try. And how are you doing, man?
I'm good. It's been a nice week. The new season. Been trying out some shorts. They've been kind of popping on my YouTube channel. I've been excited for that, but yeah. How first of all, how have you felt about the new season? Because for you, it's probably a little different vision as how you look at things.
Okay, well, for the new season, I got to play a little bit of it. I'm in between some projects, so that are due this big end of this week, so I've had to like control my time. But I've been wanting to play. But what I have played of it, it's pretty fun. I think the new, Evo Chrome, I think they're called, weapons are, I think, really interesting. But they didn't add those guns to creative,
Oof.
so like I'm kind of get upset. So I make a lot of comp based maps, and so when I try to keep the loot pool up to date, right? But when they don't let us get those guns, then it's kind of hard. So I do get a little upset on Epic, but I also understand, it's a new gun, and they want people to play BR as well. So I get it. But yeah, so far I haven't got to play. What do you think on it? How much have
Um,
you played?
I've played a good bit. Been trying to. The new season's always a big grind for me because I try and learn things. Um, as far as like tips and tricks, new POIs, drop spots, all that kind of stuff. Don't worry about the Evo Chrome shotgun. Nobody in comp is picking that up. You
Okay.
are not going to need to put
All
that in the
right.
map. The AR is pretty good though, especially once you
Okay.
get it upgraded to the blue because it goes from 2 shots to 3 in a burst, and keeps getting better and better. And it's interesting because we have like these Evo. Now the more damage you put out, the better the weapons get, and that's the first time we've seen something introduced like that, and there's
Yeah.
clearly a ton that the game can do, and I'm sure you've already started getting those gears turning as
Uh,
to what you could do in creative as well.
oh. Oh, for sure, for sure. No, I mean, I think that that gun. I mean, I'm wondering one if that gun was like we also saw that. Oh man, I'm gonna lose. I don't know what it's called, but it's the new Portafort is what I'm gonna call it. But it's like it looks like there are a lot of stuff they're gearing towards no builds.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think I wonder if those guns they had no build in mind when they designed those. But as far as creative, it did get my thoughts thinking of how I could maybe recreate and creative those guns, even though we don't have them. You actually posted, which I thought was cool, was the amount of damage that for each upgrade on those weapons on your Twitter, and so I think I retweeted about we don't actually have a way in Fortnite Creative to we can signal when someone is eliminated, but we can't tell how much like technically how much damage they are, or we can't signal. So like
Hmm.
if they take whatever 100 damage, we can't really like get an alert to the game to tell us, oh, let's give them a better weapon. So sorry, I'll try to not be as nerdy. I'll try to keep the Fortnite creative talk to anyone. I'm sure a majority of these people may or may not know stuff about creative. um
Bro, that's why you're
so,
here. I
okay.
don't want you to come here and like talk about physics or like
Yeah.
chemistry. You're a Fortnite creative person who's
Okay.
made some awesome maps, so I want to learn about that, and I'm sure other people do, whether or not it's everyone. That's fine. Who
Yeah.
cares? But for you, like, how'd you even get started in making maps? Because there's so many different avenues you could go with Fortnite, and when
Yeah.
creative first came out, it seemed like you were on it pretty quickly.
Yeah, so look, and when I will talk about creative, okay, but I'll try to keep the nerdy jargon down. But anyway, so how I got started, look, I kind of, like a lot, very similar path. I was very into competitive Call of Duty. I like game battles, like UMG. I would pub stomp. Like, I started making a YouTube channel around that, and then they started, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I'm actually a jetpacker, Call of Duty jetpacker. I actually
Oof.
hate boots on the ground Call of Duty, even though like Ghost was my first. I was ranked number 3 in the world for a gun game.
Okay.
Actually, you could see it in Ghost. You could see my name. Like if you look you back, you could look the stats in the world. It was crazy. But anyway,
I'm
that was kind
sorry
of
that it
my
was Ghost though.
Ghost. I didn't mind. It was a pretty good COD, but yeah, it was. I think a lot of people think it's they have their opinions about Ghost, but it's good and bad. But then once Advanced Warfare came out, in which everyone hates that Call of Duty. I know
Yep.
we're on a Fortnite podcast talking about Call of Duty. Anyway, but we so anyway, I started I think it was World War II. Was that the Call of Duty that came out? Anyway, it was all right. I just didn't get it, but Fortnite kind of started popping off at that time. Or was just coming out, and my friends were like, let's go play battle royale. I think like everyone has this story. Like a friend's like, hey, let's go play this new free battle royale, and I actually have like video of my first time playing, which is even crazier, which is kind of
Okay.
cool about Fortnite. But it's embarrassing. It's so bad. Like no one built back then. You know what I mean? That was back
Yeah.
when no one built. And dude, I just started falling in love because that was kind of my first go with battle royale style. I didn't get into PUBG or what was that zombie? Was there a zombie type one? I'll remember it later. But anyway, so yeah, I started jumping into Fortnite and just to fall in love with playing it, and I wanted to get better. And do you remember this? Do you remember having to go because you've played from like the start too, right?
Yeah, not like day one, but
Yeah,
probably chapter or season two.
before creative was a thing you played. So
Yes.
that's all. So remember, you would go to Tilted Towers. Everyone would farm. You'd go into like playground with your friend. You'd go to Tilted Towers. You'd farm all your mats, find your guns, and then you'd make your own 1v1.
Yes.
And that was like the first 1v1s. And I remember I was watching Ninja. I watched all the pros back then. Were doing that as well. And so, anyway, creative came out, and I wanted to get better at the game, and I started making like aim edit courses, and I ended up posting them to YouTube, and they just popped off. Like people really love my maps. I didn't even have a way to share a code. I was literally like, "Hey, at this time, I'll have my lobby open. You can come join and just play my map." Like that's how it was back then. I couldn't even share it. But soon enough, I started making some maps in YouTube, and my I got over 1,000 subscribers. Got my SAC code, and then it just took off from there. And then I had my first map that like really popped off was the most advanced 1v1, and I got this was 3 years ago now. It got 1 million views on YouTube, and
Jeez.
it just like went crazy. And the map, we didn't even really have analytics back then, so I actually don't. I know it did insane numbers. I just don't know like how well it did. I don't have a metric on it, but from there it just kind of like just sparked some. I knew I had something crazy here. So yeah, that really like showed me one about how crazy creative was, because this was back when Fortnite, it was popular, but it wasn't as it is today, a household name, I don't think, at that point. But yeah, I just for me as a Fortnite creator, I always this is a long-winded answer, by the way. Sorry about that.
Hey, it's a
But
podcast. You're supposed
yeah.
to be talking. Don't worry.
But to bring it all in, I just started, with creative. I found something that uh, basically, what was there a problem of, right? What when I make my maps, I always it's not, oh, this guy made that map, it's popular, I'm gonna go make it. That's generally not my ideas on making things. It's what is missing out of this map, or what's time consuming. So for instance, let's go back to Tilted when we were freaking, I think the server time was like 30 minutes. We had an hour or something, I remember. So you had to hurry, like get all your mats and farm. And then, anyway, so when creative came out, I was like, well, I hate that farming thing. So let's make, you give everyone wood, you give everyone, I put every gun in the game where you could choose from. And then what's the what back then you had to like pickaxe your builds after your fight to break them, but we had these bots in the game, and I actually fashioned bots under the ground, and I put like floors over them, and they would shoot up, and it would actually break your wall, so it would have it would automatically have build reset. It
Hmm.
would automatically build reset. And then this was this was a little after creative first came out. We actually they just came out with channels, a channel system, which is basically um I'm trying to how to explain it, but like basically just like an on off, like your controller. You have, think about like a remote control. You have like 8 buttons on it. If you press on, like you press the on button, it turns your TV on. Like that's all these triggers and receivers do on this device. But we had a max of only 8 we could do, and I created like a barrier that would go down using sounds to like for a 1v1 start. So all the basically what I did was just really mainstream and make all the time consuming tasks for 1v1s just easy. And so that is why that map got really really popular in its time, and I've always just kept on that path. Like with Zone War, any map I make, I just like, what's the pain points? Like with Zone Wars in the day, like we, you had people flying in the sky with stink bombs, throwing it. That's the zone coming, and like you had to have manual timers to move. This was Turtle Wars back in the day, by the way. It wasn't
Yeah.
Zone Wars. And obviously now you have storms. Like this is just like, this is how long I've been in the game, right? But if any aspiring people out there, I'm looking to creative, definitely look for an issue, look for those why, a way to optimize or innovate on those popular game modes, and I can guarantee you probably see some success. So yeah, man, that's kind of like my start into creative. um
It's
and
very
from there it's
interesting.
been wild. Yep. Thank you.
So Don Wazzy said a very similar thing. He like wanted an aim trainer because as a controller player, he couldn't use Kovacs, so he made his own one. And then for you, it's like you wanted a 1v1 without having to farm out tilted and then reset those every time, and that's why you started. So it's like you were filling your own like need for something within the game and recognized how to do that in creative, and obviously you've come much further now. We'll
Yeah.
talk about some of the maps that you've created and probably millions of people have seen at this point. But it's interesting that you had that drive or initiative to just simply go fix something that you thought was a problem within creative, and even developing further and further, trying to figure out what exactly works. I wish I had that same drive, but especially back then, I'd be
Oh
right
yeah.
there with you. But nah, I have no idea what to do in creative, especially now with all the constant updates. I feel like it's way too much.
It's not bad. Yeah, of course, if you started earlier, there was a lot less things. It was a lot less easier. I mean, there just wasn't. I mean, here's the other thing too. It's like you've seen now creative and all these crazy maps, right? So like that's your, I don't know, that's the pinnacle. Like that's what you're looking at. But back then, like your all maps look like crap. So whatever you made there, I mean, there were. Don't get me wrong, there were some maps that looked okay for what they were, but it was definitely easier to get into. But I will say this: Fortnite, out of any UGC platform, Roblox is the easiest to start, and it's a whole new system. You don't need coding. And again, this is currently now, Creative 2.0 or Unreal Fortnite. Isn't released yet. We don't know what we're getting with that. But as we're currently talking today, I feel like anyone could easily jump in. And I mean, shameless plug here. I don't even have to plug myself, but there's so much stuff on YouTube. A lot of people actually got their start on making creative from building. I've made tutorials off those 1v1 maps. So, I mean, actually, huge name. Some maps that are actually like the most played maps right now come from my tutorial.
Hmm.
So on 1v1s, but anyway, I know we're talking, I make other things in 1v1s, but it's easy, man. Don't be scared, get in there. You can do it.
Okay, you won't plug yourself, but it's Immature on YouTube. You can find
Yeah,
him.
yeah. There's lots of tutorials out there.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
does a lot of stuff that will help you in creative if you're like me trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Um, So let's talk about like your maps now. I mean, what
Yeah.
is the most active map that you currently have out there?
So my most active map that was just made by Immature, not a brand deal, is probably my new Infinite Zone Wars map. It has anywhere, my concurrents on that are about 500 players, at any given time, up on up. And that
Okay.
and this map was made in the discovery era, which is a lot harder to get your map seen actually currently in this state. It's always changing, but yeah, so that's my most popular map. But like brand deal wise map, it's probably Legends Landing, which Epic hired my company Catalyst to build that experience. I, yeah, I brought on a few other creators to help me with that one. Probably most notably, it'd be Enigma. A lot of people, especially back in the day, played Downhill River. It's like one of the most popular zone wars ever. Um, he helped with Game on the Map, and then Fatal, which he's an incredible artist. Probably one of the probably he is one of the best creative artists in the game. And you've been into Legends Landing?
Oh
You
yeah,
get to check
I've
it out.
definitely checked it out.
Okay, okay. Yeah, and maybe everyone listening. So Legends Landing is the comp hub and home for all things competitive, and they stream even all the events. And it's a more of an interactive space. It's very very cool. There's also some aim training, box fighting, and it lives in the Epic tab, so you don't have to find. Just go into the Epic, like where you go BR, keep going over, you'll find Legends Landing. Check it out. Um, Anyway, yeah, so it's a fun project and a really cool map. So
It
I'm pretty
is.
excited about
And for me, it's especially cool because I've been on the broadcast side. So, like, to see myself in Fortnite is
it.
one of the coolest experiences that I've gotten so far. And the map itself is cool. Like, even if you don't want to just like join in and watch the broadcast, there's a ton of other things. Like, I think there's box fights that you could do and like different activities if you want to just
Yeah,
jump in, like play while you're in there. So you guys did a good job of mixing the pure competitive side with also some things that maybe some competitive viewers would want to keep them on that map. And my favorite thing is the Hall of Champions, I believe it
yeah,
is what it's called,
yeah,
which, up until now, we haven't had that in game. Here are everyone that has won an FNCS, and to enshrine the people that have won within the game, I think is something so cool. And I don't know any other game that necessarily can say that. So another
yeah.
shout out to Fortnite there.
Big time. Yeah, they
Um, oh,
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry. No, no, no. I was just gonna say that a Legends Landing 2 was not just Catalyst, man. It was a big effort from the competitive side. Lots of people had input. It was definitely a big group effort, and I want to shout out actually Sundown, for so the All Star. I don't know if you remember the FNCS All Stars.
I
So they
do.
had like yeah. And that was a fun event. So we also Catalyst was hired to that event as well, or to make the maps for that event. But we made a hub, and I remember Sundown back then he was wanting to do a shrine at that time. We just didn't it didn't fit in at that time, so it was perfect for Legends Landing. And plus now Legends Landing actually is permanent, not like just a hub for a week, right? So no, shout out to Sundown for that one. No, it was a good idea, and I love it. I do love that hall. You get to see everyone who wins, and you can even see right now there's a blank spot for the FNCS Invitational. So we'll see
Okay.
who do you think's gonna win that.
Oh boy, this is a conversation that has been had on this podcast many of times.
Oh, okay, okay, my bad.
Um, I th-
Uh-oh.
I think my prediction is Malibuca and Mustache. I've probably said a few different names now that I've like got over it several times, but also things have changed too. We finally get to see what map we're playing on for the most part. We still
Yeah.
got two-ish months, so who knows what that exactly will look like. And the drop spots are also huge, so seems like
Mhm.
everyone's trying to claim condo now, and the other POIs have kind of cleared out. So we'll see. I mean, I'll stick with Malibu and Mustache. I think they're a really
Yeah.
good duo. Uh, but I'll ask you the same question. Who you feeling for that?
Uh, I don't know, man. Like, look, I don't. There's so like I watch comp, but I don't. Like except back like probably like about a year or two ago. Like I haven't. I'm gonna be honest. I have not really delved into the comp, like knowing who the best players is to make that educated guess.
Okay.
Um, so I'm just gonna say ditto on what you said. Um, but you reminded me of a funny story though, because for when we were building the all-star map, so one is just an edit course. It's the first of its kind where you compete next side by side, where you just edit, and the fastest edit wins. And we're
Hmm.
this was a big prize pool, and there was all the pros. Benji was there. There's pretty much every pro you could think of was there. And I remember when we were building those maps, we were testing it with um, one of the other partners, and they were like, "This is just too long. It takes this many minutes." And we, well, I don't want to put anyone on blast, but it was obviously the production team, and I just said their name. But they were saying it was too long. We had this slot amount of time for the show, and I'm like, okay, just let me grab a perfect pro to test this. Let me show you, like, because I've done this with maps. I know, um, I people underestimate how crazy the and what I didn't grab a pro, and we couldn't grab a pro that was obviously going to compete because that's not fair at the time. So I
Right.
actually, everyone knows Raider 464.
Hmm.
He's insane, and now he makes maps. But back then he was just a super fast editor. Anyway, the dude like just blew through the map in like half the time as these like they're like sweats they had, and it was interesting. They're like, oh, okay, like, and it was just a testament to show like there's a huge difference between people that can go maybe win every pretty much almost every game to pros. Like, it's just, you really saw it in that skill challenge, especially because I test all the maps. So and I'm not very good at the game anymore. I don't have time to be good at this game. But I'm better than the average, and to see them just like double your time, you're just like, wow, these guys are insane. Like, it was fun. That was such a fun event, and it was I really hope they do more skill challenges like that. That was just a fun event to watch, and I felt like anyone that even that maybe not enjoy watching competitive could enjoy that and understand it. So anyway,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
that was
very
just
much agree. And in case anyone listening doesn't know what the All Star event was, so it was 4 maps, I want to say.
yes, there
There
was
was an
4, yes.
aim course, there was an edit course, there was a crank course. What was the
Yeah,
last one?
there was, and then it was hold the llama. So it was like a 3v3, and you kind of, if you had the llama, you would get points and you would protect them. um and it was like, I think it was a time limit. After a few minutes, whoever had the most points wins. But it was
Okay.
actually highly competitive. It was like a big circle map. I don't know if you remember. But yeah, that was all stars, man. That was a fun. I missed that event.
Yeah, I hope we get to do something like that again. I mean, there's plenty of opportunity just to showcase, like you just mentioned, showcase how good these players are, because
Yeah,
your regular player could hop in those maps and go test their time, and you'd be like, oh my God, I am nowhere close to what Benji Fishy did, or, name whoever won those events that were crushing it. And I think most of
yeah,
them were less than a minute. And I went and tried. I was like, okay, let me see.
yeah.
Not even
And
close.
dude, and that was it. That was crazy. That it was a cool metric to see how your skill compared to a pro, because you can't, it's hard to without actually playing against them. It's hard to see that. Man, and somebody came out of that event and blew up, and I'm gosh, I can't remember their name, and it's gonna drive me nuts. But man, there was a dude that came out because he was smoking pro. Like, you didn't even hear this guy, and he was like on even like European servers on West or something, and he was just like beating people through edits. It was wild. I'll have to look him up, but anyway, it was kind of, it just shows to show that there's, just because don't have that pro title, there's kids out there that are nut crazy at this game.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Um,
but they might not be good in actual comp though. They're good at editing or aiming, right? Anyway,
They might not even be old enough to play comp. There's a lot of kids that just simply play creative and are absolutely absurd at the video game, and then will jump in when they finally turn 13 and play comp, and it's like, oh my goodness, I just got clipped by this child.
Yep.
Um,
Dude, back then too, you just remind me some of this, man. So people hated creators and creative, actually, like, so maybe even some of the comps, and we got blamed for the sweats. Like, I mean, it's not our fault, but
no,
I mean,
absolutely
we
not.
didn't. But I remember those days. We were like, there was some pros like, it's all Fortnite creative. Like, people just go in there and crank all day. Uh,
Well, for the
anyway,
longest time, it was you had to play the actual battle royale in order to improve at the game. And
yeah,
then there became all these training style of maps that allowed you to focus on specific aspects of the game rather than trying to recreate them over like a 20-25 minute game. And just those rapid repeated cycles will help you improve so much faster because it's over and over and over again. You're getting to practice this within short periods of time, as opposed to, you play a game of Fortnite, you fight maybe 10 people throughout a game, and that's going to take you 20 minutes. But you can go in
yep,
1v1 someone, for an example, and in that same 20 minutes, you may be able to play 50 like games. So
yep,
just that ability to practice definitely shot the skill ceiling up because there was so much more concentrated effort, which we didn't have within Fortnite. It was, everyone just had to play the game and hope they were getting better. And now, like, honestly, the creative maps are so good that playing the game probably isn't the best thing to help you get better for the most part. Obviously, you have to play to
yeah,
understand the whole battle royale principles and how other people react and whatnot. But
yeah.
I mean, it is crazy. You have probably single-handedly made a decent bit of players a lot better at this game.
Uh, yeah. I mean, so probably one of my most famous maps for comp would be the Crank Simulator, which is used by Mr. Savage. Actually, Tifu used it before he quit, left, and now he's no build. I mean, he used it back, when he before he back, like right at the end he left Fortnite. I think even Ninja. There's a bunch of people, and then like on the comp scene, like Jerry. There's a bunch. I have a whole there's a lot of people that have played, but it's just a map to go in and free build. And at the time, now as if anybody's listening or know anything about creative, to make a free build map is like the easiest thing in the world to make. Now, but when I made that map, we didn't have a lot of devices, things that we had now. We didn't have we didn't have teleport, or we just got teleporters, and we didn't have anything that signaled in a mass. Like, they're called mutator zones, but basically they're a huge trigger that you can cover large areas. If anyone walks in, you can teleport them if you want, or signal anyway. So look, you could make the you can make I'm not helping myself at all, but you could make this creative crank simulator. I mean, I can make it in probably 10 minutes now. Like, and back then it took a few days, right? Anyway, that's that map, probably, you're right, has single-handedly made a lot of people really sweaty at building. Sorry. My bad, guys.
So for you, I know you said you're working on a couple of projects, but what is like, is this your full-time job? Is this what you do for a living?
Yeah, so I've actually, now I think I'm just over a year full-time creator. But not, I probably wouldn't have never done this if I didn't have my creative business, Catalyst. So where I do projects as well, for clients. So um but yeah, I do now do this full time. And it wasn't like an overnight, like, I'm just gonna do this and quit my job. I have two kids, a wife. So I worked like 16 years in the oil sector.
Okay.
I had an insane, really very good job, a lot of time off. But it just, at the end of the day, man, I saw creative just keep growing, and I knew that there's a huge future in this. And I would regret not going full in. I was doing this. I even had projects, but I wasn't, you know, with another job where I worked freaking 84 hours a week, and then I had YouTube. I was trying to keep my content up and maps. It was just something had to give. And I had kids. You know, my kids are young. They just, but I had one kid and one on the way. I was like, all right, this it ain't gonna happen if I don't do it now. So I jumped, man. But that's not me saying go quit your job. I've done this from day one of creative. I've also, I started with social media first and then creative. And I think especially more than ever now with discovery, um, social media is probably it is more important than actually being a good creator. And which is kind of, I mean, it's kind of sad in one way, but it's all about, you can make the coolest map ever, but if you have no way to tell people, it doesn't matter. So especially right now in creative or in discovery to get your map, it's all based off, we don't actually know what it's based off, but most assume it's gonna be playtime and plays, right?
Hmm.
So how do you do that? Yeah, have a nice audience, a nice social media presence, or make viral content, some crazy, do a crazy map. We see it all the time, people that don't have, necessarily a good social media presence, but they make something insane and their video will take off in social media and their maps. We got like, let's go play this map. This looks cool. So that's my advice for anyone listening right now. I don't know if anyone asked for it, but don't quit your day job and think you're just going to become a Fortnite creator and make bank. Because let me tell you, that's um, I don't know. I don't know the statistic. I was going to say you might have a better chance of becoming an NBA player, but maybe not. But it's tough. It's a tough road.
Was it? Could you have done it without brands jumping into the space? Because I feel like within the past, I want to say year and a half or even more recently, there's been a lot of investments. Like I casted a Hulu event that had a creative map built in it, and obviously you have a deal with Epic for Legends Landing, and there's all these now new brands trying to jump into the creative space. Like, is that the only way that this became full time, or were you able, just simply based on plays and people using your code, would that have worked for you?
Yeah, so I mean, that would have I mean, I don't know if I would have. Yeah, I mean, for me, that definitely helped. Like having brands come in, creative and just that whole, the metaverse. I mean, I think COVID really helped push that agenda for companies, right? Go digital. But yeah, that definitely helped my decision. Probably because of that reason is where I felt a little safer to take that jump. But you know, a single man, not a family man with kids, but a single man probably could have definitely, just as a creator, a solo creator making, my maps, I would have been okay.
Okay.
Not rich by no means, but I could have been fine. I wouldn't have been hungry. But I guess that's my answer. That to being able to, I can't tell you how much money I make or any of that stuff, right? So, but yeah, it can be done there, and there's some creators that are solo creators that are insanely successful and make a lot of money. But yeah, the huge revenue source is your supported creator, um, and it can lead to some financial independence for sure.
Okay. I was really surprised because for the longest time, I thought you guys like made something off of simply plays. And then Don, when I spoke to him, was like, yeah, no. It's literally just people using your supported creator. Like, it's cool. You get more people using it if more people are playing the map. But
Yeah.
it literally doesn't matter if you have a billion people playing your map if they're not using your code, which is interesting to me. And I believe one of the guys at Epic commented something that's going to change with Creative 2.0. Is that
Yes.
right?
Well, yeah. So it's actually oh my gosh, the Oracle. Why now you say it now? My main's brain. Tim Sweeney actually said that. So
Okay.
the from Epic Games, he's the CEO founder. Said there will be new ways of monetization coming. That's kind of all he said. We don't know what it's going to be. But it definitely, we need to definitely go towards more of the like the Roblox model or a little more better ways to monetize, because the way that's monetized now, um, basically, like, especially in the start, you would have to, let's just use Ninja as example, but like you'd watch Ninja play, you would go buy a skin, on the bottom it would say support a creator, you have to click that, you'd have to freaking type in Ninja, say yes, and then buy, and then Ninja would then receive 5% of whatever you paid, or bought, right? So if you bought $100 worth of skins or whatever, you would get $5. um and so, that is still going. That's how it still works. Except in creative, and if I'm sure, uh, there's, if you've been in any maps, there's two ways now to support a creator. There's at the start of the game in the pregame lobby, you'll see, a lot of people use chests, things like that. I don't think this is kind of a tricky way to trick kids into supporting you. I don't like that, but whatever. I'm not judging anyone. I don't care. Um, but yeah, you can support there, and then now they have a support a creator button, which depending on what map you are, you're getting thrown in your face as well. It's just kind of ugly and kind of nasty, and it's not the best way to. Unfortunately, though, that is our way to support, and so again, I have buttons in places where there's high traffic. That's how you got to get paid. You got to get paid, right?
Yeah.
Keep your maps going, updating. So anyway, that's the ways to currently get paid, and definitely needs to change. I really hope, and it is going to change. I just don't know when. um but like Crank Simulator, for the first like year or two, I never made a dime. I didn't have any socials or anything. I just wanted people to go in and play, and not like immediately. I didn't want any weight. And that map has a lot of plays, multi-million plays. So, I lost a lot of money not doing that, but I didn't care. Like, that map is, I want to go and it's a practice map. That's what that idea of that map was. When I start Fortnite, that's the first thing I go in. I crank, I can get warmed up, I go do an aim or whatever, and go play.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I understand why creators do it. Like, I've also seen some threads on Twitter, like, the whole waiting space is essentially just
Yeah,
to, like, plug the creator code sometimes. It's not even necessary. But at the same time, like, I like using the maps. So if that is necessary in order to get good maps, I'm completely fine
yeah,
with that. It's almost like watching a 30-second ad before a good YouTube video. I accept taking 30 seconds out of my life if this helps support the person that made the content.
yeah.
So I understand, and I hope it becomes easier for you guys to monetize. And I've seen everything from like people monetizing different like specific devices or pieces they've made in the game, selling those off. I don't know if that's even technically allowed. Um, but
There, I mean, it is allowed. I mean, we do it. I do it for my business. I mean, I'll, even for projects, there's people that are very talented at sculptures or lettering or whatever, that can build, maybe make music songs. They're very specialized in those things. So, if that's something I need for a map, some of these people do it for free even. But it doesn't matter what they say. I'll always pay somebody for their work, their art. That's, I think, I don't, I'm pretty, I don't know the legality on it, but I'm pretty sure, if it's adults, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But yeah, yeah, it's the monetization. It's been, it could be better in a lot of maps, depending on what they are. They still need that pregame lobby where you have to wait, but some don't. Some maps that are popular, you can just jump in and play. But sometimes, especially round-based maps, like especially like the start of the game, you don't, when that round starts, you want to play with other players, right? You don't want it
right.
just to potentially be you. So you do want to give maybe a minute for people to join real quick, so then you can play with them. But I at all costs, it's a really good idea for creators too, is, especially in the new metric system for discovery. I don't, I think about, how do I keep my player having the most fun? I don't want them to ever think about, I'm bored, I want to leave. So if there's a time where they're waiting for 30 seconds, that also could be a time they're like, man, I'm not, let's just go try this. I don't want that. I want you to get in, I want you to play immediately and have fun.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So one of my biggest qualms with the discovery piece of creative is it is impossible to find maps. Like there's no inherent search feature. If I wanted to like go into Fortnite and find one of your maps, I would need the code. Like there's pretty much no other way unless you're being broadcasted out by Fortnite, who will rotate through a solid chunk of maps. But again,
Yeah.
there's probably way too many for most people to go through. Um, I really wish there was some sort of search feature and then also some sort of like lobby hosting feature. So you
Uh,
could search for a specific map, or you can go into like this list, and you can narrow it down by region, a bunch of filters, and just see like these are the games getting hosted. I want to join this one. Boom. All right, awesome. I'm in. Um,
yeah.
because I play a lot of Warcraft 3 custom games still, and they
Yeah.
have such a nice custom game feature that I wish could be implemented. Obviously, like now that game came out probably 18 years ago, something like that. So
Yeah.
there's 20 matches going on at one point across the world. Whereas if what I just mentioned happened, the number of lobbies that would be open across the world in Fortnite, I don't even want to guess. Um, do you have like any thoughts on the whole discovery
Oh,
process and ways that, someone like myself, if I wanted to find a map, I could do it more easily?
yeah. So, um, yeah. So I definitely have thoughts on Discovery. It definitely needs some work. It's still, I don't know, it's a year old now. So we've, as a community, have asked for a search. Um, before Discovery came out. Like obviously, we want a way to find a map. Which in that era, there's actually websites that came out to actually search for maps. So there are websites out there currently that is actually probably the easiest way to find a map, and you can even search by creator or category, whatever, and you can find your map and get your code. But then again, you got to go over back to Fortnite and paste. Definitely, the search function is very well needed. They just recently, a few months ago, though, added categories where you could, look for practice, racing, um, you know, uh, action, whatever. There's a bunch of different categories you can now, and then you kind of get the top. It's still, though, it's just not very intuitive. 100% agree on that. Um, there, I don't want to complain without giving input, and it's tough. It's tough. It's tough to give input. I mean, I really like Netflix. I think they've done what very well with their categories and getting new maps or new movies in, and have little things like, oh, this is the top 10 map, or sorry, top 10 video, right? Oh, that
Hmm.
catches your eye, or stuff like that. I think I really hope they take more of that model, which they've kind of have a little bit, but and stick that in there. They're also changed the categories a lot in Discovery, which I think it's cool to rotate maps and all that stuff, but it's a hard target for a map creator. It's a lot of luck based right now. And even if you do get in that category and you get your map up there and trending in that site, it's short lived, or the category gets removed, or they like move it way down where you got to scroll like 10 pages to find it. And it, it's kind of weird because this actually just happened to me. So there was a call out. I put a map in and got accepted. It was great. Everyone's excited. You're in a special creative call out, but what they did is they accepted like a lot of maps. So what intention happened is, instead of there've been 8 or 10 maps in that tab, there was a bunch. And then what happens is you only get like 5 plays, 10 plays, not much, which is, don't get me wrong, when I was first starting, that sounds amazing, 10 plays.
Right.
But like, if you're getting featured and you're in the front page of Discovery, this shouldn't you should, get a few hundred, get people actually on your map, because actually at 5 or 10 plays, it doesn't do anyone good, because that's over the day. So like, when I go into that map, I'm gonna be like, no one's here to play. Like, I'm out. I want to play with people.
Right.
That's why I'm in there. So anyway, they've since changed some things, and the point of that was, there's just too many choices. When there's just too many choices, it's actually not good. It dilutes the player base. um there's I don't have all the answers or what I think should be done, but there's definitely I hope they find a happy medium. I think Yeah, it's got some work, but it's interesting. I will say, look, the best thing to do right now though is when you find a map you love to play, there's a little heart on the top right of your screen. Just click it, save it, and there's a little tab up there, My Library, and that's the best way to get to your maps quick.
I love that feature.
Yes.
It definitely saves me like the maps that I regularly use all favorited, and I'll use those. And one thing you mentioned is like you join a map and no one else joins. Like I'm never going to actually even get to play the map the way it was intended.
Yep.
There was a MOBA style of Fortnite creative map. So it was, I think it was like 10v10, 8v8, something like that. 4 lanes, 5 lanes. You try and, get to the end, destroy the person's base. That was really cool. I was able to play with like some people in my community, but I would have loved to be able to jump into that map, play the proper amount of people, and try it out. Granted, I think we were playing it a little too early. It seemed a little bit bugged,
Uh,
but gave the person the feedback. Hopefully, they've made some changes and now it's better. And another one. So I'd love to get your thoughts. I love like tower defense games,
mhm.
and there's this guy, I think his name's Pterodactyl or something similar. He makes a not a tower defense because you're not building towers, but it's like a zombie defense game where there's just like a line of zombies that come through and you get to mow them down. I played
Yeah.
that game a ton by myself, and like that guy has been constantly updating it. I've had a couple of conversations about how he could make it better, but no one plays it. Like it's literally I've tried. It's a 2-person map. I've
Yeah.
tried a couple of times, just search and not play a private game. No one joins me. It's a little upsetting.
Yep.
But all that to be said, if I could host a lobby and then someone see that and it's like, boom, all right, cool, I'm joining. Let's
Yep.
go. Uh, yeah, Fortnite creative is the future. Like straight up, that is going to be the long term way that Fortnite stays around forever because there will forever be something to do.
100%.
Sorry, I cut you off there.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You no, yeah, 100%. You're not wrong. It's already they've said that 50 over half the player base now plays creative, which is insane. And back to that map you're talking about, I actually know exactly. I know Pterodactyl. He's a very talented creator. He actually, he first showed that map on my showcase. I do a stream where I show off creators' maps. We just go through their maps, and they got a few minutes to show me their map. And anyway, it's fun. But he showed that map to me, and that I remember seeing that map. I was like, this map is insane, dude. Like
Yeah.
you crushed it. The mechanics were that's a tough mechanically map. It's a, I'm not saying that correctly, but anyway, you get what I'm trying to say. It's very intensive. He did a great job, and I want to say it got featured. I hope it got featured. It should have been featured, but it was a fun map. And what you're doing though, and anyone listening, giving feedback is huge. And any creator listening, if you're get feedback, don't get all freaking upset and like, well, this is the blah blah blah. Just say thank you. This person played your map and then took time out of their day to find you, which some is not easy, and then to report, their input. That to me is the most valuable thing as a creator. So, dude, thank you for doing that on maps. And anyone listening, please, obviously don't say, hey, like, I will say this though, as a creator, you will get those your map sucks or something, like you get those haters, right? So there, we do get a little. I can see sometimes why you get defensive, but I don't look at it like that. That's it's always nice when you get that kind of feedback. So thank you.
You're welcome. I always try and like lead with, "Hey, love playing your map. I noticed like this happened. Don't know if it's intended. Just wanted to let you know." And like sometimes people will ask for it, right? If I see a Twitter post about, "Hey, I just made this map. Like, let's try it out. If you have any feedback," I think Finest with his 1v1 realistics
Mhm.
is always asking like, "Okay, what could I do better or change?" So those
Yep.
are things that definitely are helpful because creative it has bugs and there's constant updates to the game which makes it change. I didn't realize how often you guys had to update maps just to keep them running properly, um, until I
It's
spoke to Don. So
Well, and Don's map, he's got a lot going, for that specific map. There's a lot going on, and it just depends. You can control that as a creator, though. If you're very good with your housekeeping, you're very good, minimizing your mechanics. You can help that out a lot. Me being working from the beginning of creative, I've I've had, but I'm gonna be honest. A lot you'll hear, I'll probably get, in trouble, or the community may hate me for saying this, but the bugs we've had lately aren't that bad, and we have so many things, we have so many other devices or so many other ways to, like, maybe that device or this isn't working, we can still do it, but we got to do it this way, or go back the old school way to do it, right? Like, I've just been around the scene so much that, like, these problems are nothing. I mean, back in the day, they would straight up, like, you actually, back in the day, this is how bad it was. When you updated your map, you got a brand new map code. Like,
Hmm.
your old code didn't, like, it worked, it was just on the broken map now. So you're going to BHE's 1v1 map, right? Let's just say that's the map you play every day. Like, well, to get the new guns and new updates, like, you're not going to get it unless you're following me on socials and I tell you what the brand updated code is, right? So it's like, now we just published and it's on that same code. Like, we have it so much easier than back in the day. um but if we, it is frustrating, especially, I have a lot of different maps now, and so when one thing breaks, I gotta go fix it in all other maps. It does get time consuming, and any update day, I remember update day like Christmas, you know what I mean, where you're like, yes, dude, all new content, like, this is gonna be fun. I can't wait to play. And now I'm like, uh-oh, please just nothing break so I can go play the new season. Like, I want to check it out. Like, nah, it's look, there's such a, everyone's know about Fortnite, or Unreal, Fortnite or Crave 2.0 has been teased, saying it's supposed to come out even later on this year. So, it's bug related wise. I'm just hoping, in the new system that will be a lot less, and it should be right. And it's hard to complain right now because we know they're working on a whole new system. So, but yeah, it's a part of the job. It really is. You gotta that's what makes a good creator, and that's you gotta know how to adjust and fix your map quickly, and how to fix it, and like, just know five different ways to do the same fix, right? So we've come a long way, man. We used to pick guns off the ground before our zone wars. So,
It's
no
true.
thing. Yeah, man, it's been crazy ride, and it's just getting started, man. It's in its infancy. Like, Roblox is like 14 something, like 10 plus years old. Creative is, but Fortnite's turning 5 right now, isn't it?
Yeah, they just put out like the 5th anniversary post, I think.
Dude, I remember getting the back bling and eating the cake for year one. What happened, man? Like, what
We're getting
happened?
old. That's
I
what's
guess.
happening.
Dude, I gotta put my hat on backwards so I, like, can stay relevant. I look, hang out with the young. No, man. I know I got a lot. My face, skin products have definitely increased, man. I'm getting wrinkles here. This sucks. Um,
uh,
yeah. It's and we're getting old, dude. Five years is nuts. So, but creative is like 4 years, maybe, and not even that. So yeah, we're still so early. So many things are gonna change or get crazy. I mean, it's about to be, a legit editor to make games. You know, hopefully, we don't really know what we're getting yet, but I assume it's gonna be better than what we have now. And what we have now, we can do pretty crazy things with.
yeah, the tools keeps getting better and better, and then they've increased it to 60 people. I saw you tweet out they increased it to 100 people allowed in lobbies.
Yeah. So about
Oh,
that.
was that
Uh,
not?
no, it's a thing. It's actually
Okay.
happened. So it's cool. I will be honest. You'll probably. I'm trying to think. Drea. You've probably seen a 40-player Zone Wars map. I think is the max I've seen. I mean, you've probably seen more, but an actual. I'm talking about popular maps that keep a player base. I think the highest I've seen is 40
Okay.
players. But there's a reason. It's just The more players you add, especially if there's building involved in your maps, it really is causes a lot of stress. I mean, it's just like, end game in BR, right? Your ping is going up, like it's just you plan for it. So it's just like creative when you have that many people in a small confined space, it's really tough. So you have to make the map basic. You have to have like very little mechanics, nothing built in them to even hold 40 players. So, 100 players is crazy, but not like, here's the biggest issue with these bigger uh number. I actually was part of a beta group to test 50 players when it came out, when they were doing that a year or so ago. But um it's testing with that many people. If you don't have an audience, how are you going to test a 100-player map?
You
How,
can't.
how do you can't, right? So, and you got to, like, I know all my limitations for 20 to 30 players, how to set things up. Things change. The more players you have, things change. Timing changes depending on how you build your game mode. So 100, I can't. I'm doing this every day, and I can't fathom how to make a game. I could make one, and I would, I could. I actually thought about making one just because it'd be funny or fun. Um, but it's wild. Now, 100 players is yeah, it's just showing you though that it's a little foreshadowing, I think, what's to come. And I'm maybe one day you can actually legit build your own BR map, and it hopefully would run as good as, have hopefully the server capacity to run just, and I say as good as BR, and I know people would laugh at that statement. They would say it could be a lot better, right? But I mean, that would be a dream if I could get ping, a map like that with that many players to that ping.
Yeah, and one thing that comes to my mind immediately when you say that is we could essentially customize the loot pool, players. You can control that all now as opposed to like everyone just puts in a custom code, queues into like an arena game when playing scrims and competitive. So if there was a custom map where you could literally make the loot pool, make everything, and it simulated anything you want it to, right? You don't even have to make it exactly like the actual game. That would be
Yeah.
really cool and super helpful for like the competitive community.
Oh
But
yeah.
like you said, I think we're still a ways off from being able to put 100 people on the map. I think OG Lucky had like a Zone Wars that was 40 people, and
Yeah.
it was not good. Oh, it
See,
was
and so,
good, but buggy.
and that's what I was trying to say. So, and I said Droid, but I think his is 30. Yeah, I was thinking of that map you just talked about, that creator Lucky. And yes, I it's very laggy, man. And it's not on him necessarily. I think he's probably done a good. It's a basic in its form. I'm not trying to be mean, but you have to make that a map like that basic, because it it will get worse. Like, you can't add any crazy features in that, because it's gonna even be more laggy. If loading 40 players it's a tough thing. But the fact that he's keeping player base in that that's a good sign, though. And hopefully as things get better, um we'll start seeing more maps like that, and better practice maps, and more BR specific practice on new POIs. I mean, how cool would it be if we can literally just, like, the new POIs come out, let's say for the BR, and we can go in creative and just have it, either is there, we have the prefabs made, we throw it down, throw a zone, you can practice end zone in that look, in different locations, like that, and really get that practice. And you could select what gun you want to practice. So, say you really want to get good at the new Evo Chrome weapons. Well, I'm gonna practice the new AR. I want to practice that shotgun. And so I actually kind of do that in Infinite Zone Wars. You can pick two weapons that you can be RNG, or you can actually pick two weapons that you want to practice with, what shotgun you want, or what SMG and AR, and then everything else is RNG off top of that. But you can really define and get your practice on your gun, not relying on RNG to try to practice with it, like a lot of zone, like all zone wars basically. You some of them, a lot of them you can start picking. They've started being able to pick your shotgun at
Hmm.
least. um but yeah, anyway, it's the future is going to be wild, man. I know it. I know it. And players are going to get, maybe they're going to stop saying stop blaming creative for all the sweats. It's gonna be whatever the new. Well, I guess it would be built-in creative, so we're still gonna get blamed, but it's okay.
And just to clarify, I don't think the map is bad. Like, it's just the server capacity can only
Yeah,
handle so much. Just to clarify that,
yeah,
because
no.
we saw Fortnite even have to like increase Storm Surge, or I guess decrease the amount of players in the base BR. So if they're trying to figure things out, I can only imagine what it's like on your side. But I wanted to ask you, because you do the creator showcase,
Mhm.
and probably see more maps than most people. What is the favorite map that you haven't made yet, that you've seen?
Okay, so let me get this straight. So, what's my favorite map that I haven't made yet?
Yes. Well, I just ignore the yet. I don't know why.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
What's the
yeah, yeah.
favorite map that you've seen that you haven't made?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. Um, well, so I mean, I tend to lean towards more comp-based maps. Ah, man, I've made a lot of maps. I'm trying to think, man, what game mode I haven't made. But I know you said don't think. So, what's my favorite map currently? Um, Wow, I'm blanking right now. I mean, I haven't played a lot of recently a lot of maps, but I mean, I've jumped into um like the iHeart experience. I thought, I mean, I've made a similar experience, but I thought that was it was really cool. I love how we're just seeing these new experiences. So iHeart's like they're having concerts and all these other things, and it's made by my friends actually, Atlas. They're a great team, but they crushed that project. I thought they did really well. I thought that was a cool map, but like Valhalla, which is done by Sven, I thought I have not made a map like that, but it's a zombie open world type map that he's a very talented creator, and he crushed that map. It was really aesthetically and gameplay wise was next level. Team Power is another big. They just made a Destiny map,
Okay.
and it was done really well. So look, I mean, I can't. You can't. It's like asking which one of your kids is your favorite, right? Like it's just like it depends what day.
Yeah, I know. I put you on the spot, but
Yeah, you
see,
did.
I got now three maps that I need to check out, as opposed to one. So thank you.
Okay. Yep.
Um, we are at over an hour, and
Cool.
I know you mentioned you wanted to ask me some questions, so
Yes.
fire away.
Okay. Yeah, dude. I meant to ask him during this interview. We gave like waited till the end, but yeah, like I'd never heard your. I've listened to the podcast. Certain guests, but I wanted to. How did you get into casting? Like, how did that story happen? Like,
So like my career started as a writer covering competitive Fortnite. I've always been interested since like pre-World Cup days. Fall Skirmish is when I really started like following it, but I want to say in the lead up to World Cup is when I got fully sucked in to like this is freaking awesome. I want to
yeah,
be a part of this. So then I wrote for probably 3 years, started making my own YouTube content, and one day I get a comment on one of my videos like, "Hey, we're doing a community tournament. Would you want to cast this?" I'm like, what? I've never casted anything before, and it was this random like smaller community event. I think there was 30 people in the lobby, so it wasn't even big. It was regular pubs, and like I did it, I had fun, and I was like, damn, okay, this could be something that I actually do. And so then after that, another person reached out to me to do an event. Then I started getting paid to do them, and when it really hit was DreamHack reaching out to me, and they're like, "Hey, we want to pay you to cast one of our events." And like they had already been going on, and I was seeing like Shio, Aussie, Bala, Monster on there. I was like, "No way, am I gonna get to do this?" So I did that for about a year with them, and then last about this time last year, I got hit up by Epic Games to do a couple of days to fill in on NA West because Kelly was out. So then able to do that. Um, and they had me as an analyst, which is something I've always thought my skill set fit more
Mm.
because I'm more analytical and the casting didn't come as naturally to me. That's something I've really had to work on, especially my voice inflection and all that stuff, because I can be monotone at times, and I know that now. I didn't at first. And then next season I was asked to be a part of the NA East broadcast, was the analyst for 2 seasons on NA East. Yeah, and then I've just been pretty much taking whatever comes my way, working on it. And I got to give a shout out to Shio and Bala,
Mm.
uh, and Monster as well, because especially Shio and Monster, I didn't realize how much effort it took to become a good caster. You can know the game. I know the game very well, but communicating that to people, saying what needs to be said, and understanding how to say certain things to engage the audience, actually make people care, and use your voice in the right way is something that until I spoke to those two and understood the effort they put in, I didn't really appreciate.
Dude, it's an insane skill. I think. I mean, it's definitely a. I mean, you have to practice. I'm sure. I mean, you have. It's not like a. I mean, you've all seen or you've done it before. Like, remember back in the day? This is what I relate to. Is like your friends, you'd play squads or whatever in whatever game, but you died, right? And then but you play the analyst. You play
Yeah.
the analyst or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, dude, let's hard. Like, go ahead and try that tonight. That's insanely hard to do. To keep talking for 25 minutes possibly, and stay relevant in the game, in what you're talking about. So no, man, I've always been, just growing up watching, sports and stuff. It's always been interesting, and I didn't, no one tells you about that career path or like even how to get into it or what, but like I thought it was very interesting. How was seeing the new FNCS stage, like the new casting stage. Because when I saw that the first time, my jaw was on the floor.
So they recorded us, like they had us close our eyes and then open and see it. And I think they wanted a reaction, but in my head I was just like, "Oh my god!" Like I couldn't say anything. I was just sitting there like, and they're like asking me questions. I couldn't get words out, right? It was really cool because I started doing this in COVID. So this entire time I've just been like we are now, a box on a
Yeah.
screen, and it's never felt real. I did like one or two other in-person events before then, but they were much smaller, like scholastic or collegiate events that were,
Mm.
maybe 1,000 people at most. So getting to go into the massive studio, it was an unreal experience because to me, like you, I've always watched people like the ESPN studios, watching people like Al Michaels and now Tony Romo like crushing it. Jim Nance is another one that I love. I've always appreciated those people because there's certain people I don't like to listen to.
Yeah.
So having that whole experience of I've been watching sports my whole life, seeing these people, and then now I get to go into what I can only imagine is like a multi-million-dollar studio and
Yeah.
get to do something myself. It just didn't feel real. Still doesn't feel real that I got to do
Yeah.
that, if I'm being honest with you.
Dude, that was insane. I thought it was cool, man. It was a nice change because you're right. I mean, all the casters, all the events you watch, it's been from their living or wherever they stream from. So it's kind of cool to see that back, and the reveal of that stage. I was like, oh my god, very very cool, man. Have you been to the? I'm gonna say this. I think it's the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's in Massachusetts, and they have they set up a real like the TNT studio basically they have
Okay.
there. But you sit at the desk and it's a thing. Like there's a person and you have to read these lines of the prompter. They record you. Like it's a whole thing, and you get to feel like what it is to be a caster basically in the thing. And oh my gosh, like I talk. If you're a social media presence, like you talk all the time on camera, it's like you don't. And even I at that when all the lights are on you and there's a huge camera and there's a stage, like it's way different than like just sitting here, right? Like, how did you? Was it more nervous? Was it more? Well, were you like how was that
Yes.
transition? Yeah.
Yeah, so day one, um, because even doing FNCS for the first time, like first day or two, I was definitely nervous. And you could probably go back and watch the VODs now that I've told you that, and
Yeah.
you could see it. But like, who wouldn't be? You know, this is
Oh
something
yeah.
that I've tried to do and wanted to do for the longest time. I think it's only natural. But then we go into studio, like this is a brand new thing. I have no on-camera training. I have nothing other than like I can look at a camera, I can talk to
Yeah.
you and understand all that stuff. Um, but in studio, it's all different. You know, there's this massive space, and you have to navigate that. You now have to worry about everything below this. You know, because
Yeah.
normally I'd cast in sweatpants or shorts, and now I have to
Yeah.
like actually dress nicely. And day one in the studio, I slipped up and forgot what I was gonna say, and I like you can't even tell. I went back and watched it. You can't even tell that I was like freaking out, but I was
Yeah.
freaking out. I was
Uh,
like, "Oh no, everyone just heard me screw up. Like I just fucked up big
yeah.
time on this stage. It's all over." And then from there on out, I was so focused and in my own head that
Yeah.
until we finished that first segment, I was messed up. And then afterwards, I said to like Vivid and Adam, they're like, "Bro, you were fine. Like I don't know what you're talking about." So you build these things up to much worse in your head than they actually are.
Yeah. No, for sure. We've all had that, like in a speech or something, where you're just like, you lost your train of thought, and you're just like, and then like that feeling of panic when it's gone, and you're just like, people are looking at you, and then oh, that's the worst, man. That's the worst.
Yeah.
Uh,
It
do you
cascades too.
recover? Yeah. What's that? Sorry.
It cascades too because
Oh
then
yes,
like you're
yes.
just thinking about that more and then you screw up again yeah, it's not fun. But after that experience and then I went back and watched it, I learned that the only one that knows that I screwed up is myself. So just
Yeah.
forget it and keep moving and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, like I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's usually no one's gonna notice but yourself. Um, but yeah, live, that's a tough, man. That's wild. Like yeah, Coot, hats off, man. And
Thank you.
that's and are you going? Are you heading to the Invitational this year?
Um I won't be working it. I live in Raleigh, so I'll be there as a spectator,
Yeah.
enjoying it. I think that would be like the ultimate goal is to work like a big LAN event, but not this time.
Yeah, and it wasn't even about working. My bad. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
you're going. Okay, yeah, I'm going too, man. This is my first. I didn't get to go to World Cup, so
Ooh.
yeah. Did you go?
Yeah, I did.
What? You got
I,
to go to that? That's
yeah, I was
like seeing Woodstock.
I actually got to sit right next to Booga's parents when he won,
What?
which
So you're on camera?
I am.
Like,
You could find me. There's like a reaction, and I'm sitting like 3 seats away from them, and I had no idea until like probably game 4 or 5. Like these people are starting to go nuts. I'm like, okay,
yeah.
this is clearly his parents. But I had a press pass, and I was sitting there with my computer typing away, writing up my article. And I am kicking myself because I should have just asked his parents for like a comment at the time or
Yeah.
taken a video. But yeah, it was.
I
I
didn't want to
loved
be that
World
guy
Cup.
either, but
Yeah.
yeah. You should have pulled out like a mic and just started commentating right there for them.
That was before I even like thought about
Oh,
commentating on
okay.
stuff.
Yeah. Dude, that whole that put I know weird time. I know weird time. So, but that whole experience, you know, you probably had this problem, but when gaming, like trying to tell your parents there's a path in gaming to make money, it's like the hard, especially back when, when I was a kid, that wasn't a conversation. Like that was video games ruin, rod your brain, right?
Yep.
And I think what Booga did, and I don't know if this was ever realized, but that made news that this gamer just won $1 million or how many million, right?
Three
Like,
million.
yes, $3 million, and it was everywhere. And I remember where I worked was with a bunch of how to be trying to be politically correct, but elderly gentlemen, um, and they were just baffled. I could see their freaking heads spinning, like, what? this dude just played a video game and made $3 million, and I swear, like, and that Ninja was popping off too at that time. I've said his name way too many times, but like I remember like that those two things helped the gaming community in more ways than I think any of us will understand. That it actually like there's colleges now like giving scholarships for Fortnite. Like I don't know about Fortnite yet. Maybe there is, but like for
There's a
gaming.
couple.
Okay, so dude, that's crazy. That is
Yeah.
insane, man. Um, that's it's just it's a cool thing, and I really I love to see it. I love to see it, and the future is just going to be even crazier.
Yeah, we're in like the infancy stage of
Yeah.
esports and gaming. Even though it's been around, like you said, when I was younger, it was get off the Xbox, go play with your friends outside, do something with your life. And like at the time, I didn't appreciate that, but now looking back at it, thank you. I probably shouldn't have played as many video games as I did. So thank you to my parents.
Yeah.
But now, like both you and I have created a career out of video games, and both very different in their own paths. So there
Yeah.
is infinite amount of opportunity right now, and just trying to find out what you're good at is really important. Because for me, like you, I worked in like a corporate job. I don't know if you worked in corporate, but an oil
Oh, it was
sector.
very
Okay.
corporate. Yes.
Yeah. So 5 years doing like corporate work, and a couple of jobs I loved. Some were absolutely miserable, and now I get to do this stuff and call it a job. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. So I am
Yes.
forever grateful.
You probably, yeah, and maybe we wouldn't be as grateful if it was just like, we didn't have those jobs or have that path to get here. But yeah, it's wild, man. It's been a Fortnite. Like, I mean, who would have guessed how many jobs you would have come from it? Like, it's wild that how many people have made insane careers out of a video game. It's wild. I love it. I love it. I never thought when I played Fortnite, I I would be able to pay my bills with a game, right? So I mean, not necessarily playing the game, but making games within it. So yeah, it's cool, man.
It is definitely cool, and I think that's a perfect way to end this.
Yeah,
Leave it on that nice, wonderful note. But thank you so much for joining me,
yeah.
man. I really appreciate it. This has been one of my favorite conversations so far. So thank you. Uh,
All right.
so quick wrap up. Favorite Fortnite skin?
All right, moniker. That's easy though. That's my main. So moniker. That's
Okay.
easy. Easy.
Where does immature gamer come from?
That the gamer tag. Okay, that is a weird. I know we're trying to wrap up. I'm gonna be as short as possible. But like it's. I don't know. Like I made that. Like my first gamer tag was Matt. Matt, my name. Like so, it was like I had like an OG name I should have kept in for Xbox. But immature gamer, I think it was just kind of like I wanted to take the stigma out of gaming, like the immaturity part of it. I started that like 6 years. It was 6 years ago when I did my YouTube, but that's just me. I'm just kind of like I just have fun. I don't really care. Like I just mess around. So I don't think take things too seriously. So I think that's where that comes from. But immature gamer is just a way too long gamer tag when in a space now where when you want people to search you in social media, think about that. Don't immature also for some people is a tough word to spell. So just shout out for every people like pick a 3-letter name. Like, dude, SBG is perfect. Like that's very smart.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take SBD. I'm changing my name.
Somebody's dad. You can steal that one.
Well, I was thinking of silent but deadly,
Oh,
but
okay.
that could stay on brand a little bit, right?
Hey,
No,
whatever you
no.
want to do. But
Okay.
lastly, tell everybody where they can find you and what you got coming up recently or in the future.
Okay, yeah. Twitter. If you look up Immature Gamer on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you'll find me. And what I got coming up, I can't really like project wise. I can't talk about it unfortunately, but definitely would look if I don't know how to more say this, but yeah, definitely keep an eye on Legends Landing. For as per usual, we do keep that map updated. That's all I can say on that. But personal map wise, my Infinite Zone Wars, honestly, if as a one of the best practice, it's like a respawn late game, but it is very tailored towards performance. So give that a shot if you want, and you can find those map codes from my socials as well. So that, man, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It was a fun conversation for sure.
Awesome, awesome. You're welcome. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it, and it was fun. Not just saying that for the podcast. So,
Yeah.
definitely check him out, Immature Gamer on everywhere, or Immature on YouTube. You can find his maps, you can find his tutorials, help you out. Definitely a valuable person to follow if you like competitive maps, or you like to learn about creative stuff, because you're always retweeting, sharing things about creative as well, and it helps me learn because I'm not fully in there. So thank you.
No
Um,
problem.
if you guys have any questions, comments, complaints, want to tell me I'm awesome, you can DM me on Twitter at somebody's gun, or leave a comment down below on the YouTube video if you guys are still here. Really appreciate you watching. It is about an hour and a half, so thank you so much. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great day, and we will see you next time.